What's up, YouTube? Welcome back for another college football video. We got week 6 this week, and our normal co-host, Rhett, he got fired because he's been doing so bad. And he made fun of me because the Gators lost. So I replaced him with a new regional college football expert here. We got Alex in the house today. So what's up, Alex?
What's up? How you doing?
Yeah, he's a new college regional expert here. Rhett, you suck it. All right. Just a little recap of last week. I think we did pretty solid. I don't remember what did we score last week. I think we got like maybe 7 or 8 out of the 10. But no matter. We're going for 10 for 10 this week. Just a little recap of last week. Some big games. Texas blew out Kansas, expected, and I'll do a little Michigan here for my boy Alex. Michigan actually blew out Nebraska, covered a spread for 2 weeks in a row. Unheard of for Michigan.
There we go.
And then, what else happened? USC, Colorado, they had a barn burner. Deion Sanders gave it to Caleb Williams, but they pulled it out at the end. Notre Dame, Duke, that was a heck of a matchup. Duke almost pulled up the upset, but unfortunately Leonard got injured at the very end. Ole Miss pulled out the upset over LSU. That was a big game. Jackson Dart, that was just a touchdown fest. And I'm not even going to talk about my Gators. Screw that. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much all the big games from last week. But on to this week, week 6. All right. So, first game on the slate, we got Oklahoma at Texas. So, of course, Red River rivalry here. And this year has been Texas' year so far. They are back. Been saying that every year, but this year they're actually back. So, with all that, Quinn Ewers, he's been playing like one of the top quarterbacks in college football right now. Oklahoma, they're 5-0. They're off to a great start as well. But if you look at their strength of schedule, it's not very strong. The strongest opponent is probably Iowa State, who is struggling this year. But even with that, they struggle to run with the ball. And this is where Texas have a big advantage over Oklahoma. It's definitely in the run game, and the receivers are, I would say, better. But I wouldn't doubt Dylan Gabriel. He's having a heck of a season too. 15 touchdowns, 2 picks. But you know that Texas defense is really gonna make a difference here. Usually it's a high-scoring game, but I'm gonna have Texas here. I feel like they're gonna be too much for Oklahoma. I do think it's gonna be a close game. You know, it's a rivalry game, but in Texas with the better defense and weapons, give me Texas here. Alex, what you got?
I got pretty much everything you said, Matt. Like, it's the Red River. It's going to be a close game. Dylan Gabriels came out of the gates swinging for Oklahoma. Quinn Ewers has looked incredible for the first 5 or so games that he's played. It's going to be a tight matchup. My buddy's actually the punter for the Oklahoma Sooners, so I got a little soft spot for them. Yeah, but I expect Dylan Gabriel to come out swinging still. But Quinn Ewers and that air raid of Texas is too much for Oklahoma when the Longhorns win at home.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. Is Texas back, dude? Are they finally back?
I, for some reason, have a disliking for Texas, but I would say that they are. I've been seeing a lot that Texas deserves the number one spot in the nation, which I don't know how much I agree with that one, but I got my bias because my team's number 2, so.
Yeah, number 1 might be a little bit too much right now, but definitely agree with you there. Moving on, we got LSU at Missouri. LSU coming from a kind of a disappointing loss over Ole Miss. They were there. They were scoring almost every drive. They were able to get some stops on Ole Miss, but it wasn't enough. It was definitely a high-scoring game. Jay Daniels, he impressed me that last game. He was throwing darts and dimes all over the place, all over that defense. But at the end of the day, they couldn't outscore Ole Miss. But he's still having a good year, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And this team is not bad at all. They're definitely better than what the record says, but they do have a tough competition. Their strength of schedule is pretty strong so far. Their only losses coming from FSU and Ole Miss. but they do have a tendency of playing good teams close. And I do think this Missouri team is good. But their schedule doesn't show it. Kind of their best win's coming from Kansas State, which is a good team, but their quarterback play has been phenomenal so far from Brandon Cooks. He has over 1,400 passing yards and 11 touchdowns. He's killing it so far. But again, LSU has the SEC defense. The only SEC team that Missouri played was Vanderbilt, and they're like barely an SEC team. So I'm going to trust LSU here, but I do think it's going to be a close one. Missouri is underrated here. I think it will be within a touchdown, but I got to trust Jaden Daniel and the boys at LSU. What you got?
Where is this game being played?
This is going to be in Mizzou.
Mizzou. I don't know. I came into the season saying that Jaden Daniels was the most overrated quarterback in college football, and I don't have too much trust in him, but kind of like you said, Brian Kelly will always have that defense churning. I don't know too much about this Missouri team. I just kind of saw that they popped up on the rankings, to be quite frank with you, but it's always funny. I feel like week to week we always get a colossal Jaden Daniels hit. That man is always being put on the ground in one way or another. So on FSU, we saw it last week against Ole Miss. I don't know about this one. I might have to go Missouri here. I don't trust LSU. I thought they were overrated coming into the season. I thought Jaden Daniels was overrated coming into the season. So I like Missouri at home to come bring that home.
Yeah, definitely not a bad pick at all. Missouri is a good team this year, surprisingly. They kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But
playing at home sparks fire within them and come out and beat a good LSU team.
Yeah. Being at home, it makes a huge difference. So I agree with you there. All right, moving on. We got Marshall at NC State. Marshall undefeated 4-0. Their strength schedule is not the best. Their best win comes from Old Dominion, which I do think is a good win for them. As for NC State, it's been a disappointing season for them. That defense has been laying them down a bit, so has that offense. They did have a close one with Louisville, which showed signs of improvement. But again, they played a close game against Virginia, who is not a great team. And they are going to change their quarterback, though, so that might help them offensively. And the defense did step up against Louisville last game. So I'm actually going to stick with NC State, as Marshall is not really battle-tested, I would say. So I'm going to stick with NC State in the Wolfpacks here.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And for NC State losing Peyton O'Leary last year, I think he went to Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. That was a big hurt for them this year, coming into this year. But, I mean, it's a classic Group of Five versus Power Five game, and I think that the Power Five, more times than not, come out of that as the winners, with exception to Marshall last year beating Notre Dame. So, I mean, they've done it once. I'd be surprised if they could do it again. Like you said, they showed signs of life and improvement last week against a good Louisville team. So, yeah, I think that NC State outlasts Marshall in this one as well.
There we go. We agree once again. Let's go. Next game, we got Washington State at UCLA. This is going to be a great matchup. I can't wait for this one. The Pac-12 has been killing it this year so far. They are filled with good quarterbacks, and one of the quarterbacks in that conference I love right now is Cameron Ward. He's slinging the rock right now. He's killing it in the air. That air raid offense, it's been very impressive. Their best win is coming from Oregon State, and the score is closer than the game actually was. So I think that was a great win for Washington State. And UCLA's, they had an all-right schedule. They played Utah last week, and they lost that game 14-7. But then again, Utah did lose to Oregon State. And just using some college football math here, Washington State beat Oregon State, and Oregon State beat Utah, and Utah beat UCLA. I'm going with Washington State, not because of knowing that math, but because I like Cameron Ward a ton here. And I feel like this Washington State is kind of being a little overlooked, as they have UCLA as the favorite right now.
Pulling out the transitive properties of college football there, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all connects.
Oh yeah, yeah. UCLA's lost two of their big offensive components last year in DTR as he was drafted, and Zach Charbonnet he was drafted as well. But as you said, Cam Ward has come out of what feels like nowhere to be one of the most
Yeah.
underrated quarterbacks in college football for Wazoo State, and so I didn't see this team coming after last year, but it's good to see them coming because I know they have a great fan base out there in Washington, and yeah, like you said, I like Wazoo to take this one as well.
Yes, sir. You think the Pac-12 is the best conference right now?
I think in terms of quarterbacks, they are. Yeah, I think that no one's topping the quarterback play that they have right now. My issue with the Pac-12 is are they going to beat themselves up when they all play each
Yeah.
other? I got a buddy who's a big Oregon
Yeah.
fan, and he's always talking about how this is going to be the year where a Pac-12 team finally gets in the playoffs. And I said, well, not if you guys all beat each other up like you guys did last year. So, I mean, it could be the year. I could see Washington going, I could see USC going, or I could see Oregon going. It's just a matter of how those teams play each other. So,
Yeah. He must have been talking a lot of crap once they beat Colorado.
oh yeah,
But,
he was.
Yeah.
He's on the big hype train for Bo Nix for Heisman, like everyone is out there in Eugene. So,
Of course they are. They got a great quarterback. That's what happens.
oh yeah.
All right. Moving on. We're on to another big rivalry here. We got Bama at Texas A&M. Now, this is an interesting matchup. Everyone's just waiting for the downfall of Bama. They just want them to keep losing. And they haven't been looking great so far this season. But Texas, they've been looking good. The only problem is they lost their star quarterback. I call him Wingman. They lost their star quarterback, Wingman. Now they got Johnson. And he was sufficient against Arkansas. Was able to beat him by 12 points. Other than that, they lost to a tough Miami team. They got talent on that team. They got a good defense, but I gotta take Bama. They're being overlooked, and that's when they play their best. So I'm gonna trust Jalen Milroe here, even though he has some shaky play, and they did struggle against USF, which is kind of weird. And then the next week they were able to beat Ole Miss by 14. But I'm gonna trust the. I feel like they're gonna go back to their old style play where they just run the ball and focus on defense. And yeah, I'm just gonna take them here to beat up on that backup quarterback for Texas A&M here. So I got Bama.
This game is always a interesting game every year, especially when it's played in Kyle Field over there in College Station. 2012 comes to mind with Johnny Manziel. A couple of years ago, I don't even remember who was playing quarterback for that team against Bama that year. They won it again. So this game, when it comes to Kyle Field, is always a thriller. And Kyle Field, when Alabama comes to town, is an electric place to play. So with that being said, I think that last week I had Ole Miss. 2 weeks ago, I had Ole Miss beating Alabama as my prediction, and that didn't fare so well. So it made me question why I always pick against Nick Saban and how that all works out. I think the USF game for Alabama was, I've heard a lot of people say this too, was a glorified scrimmage where Alabama started Tyler Buchner, and that didn't end up working out, and they went through the quarterback room until they came back to Milroe. And Nick Saban's even said that Milroe has done everything that he likes to see for him to become the starter. So early in the season, I didn't trust Milroe. I feel like now is a little more trusting. And as you said, A&M's lost their quarterback, who was having a phenomenal season so far with such an unfortunate injury. But I like Alabama to take this one, even though it is in Kyle Field. Having a quarterback coming in trying to play Alabama when you know Nick Saban's going to have his troops running is going to be a tough ask for that young quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. We got Purdue at Iowa. And interesting matchup. I don't feel like it's going to be a close game, as Purdue, they have a pretty solid offense. But if you look at their strength of schedule, they haven't beaten anyone of note. They lost to a pretty solid Fresno State team. They lost to Syracuse. They're a pretty good team. Wisconsin. Well, if you look at it now, it's kind of a tough schedule. But their wins come from Virginia Tech and Illinois, two pretty bad teams so far. And Iowa, of course they play good defense. The offense is buns. You know, they took Michigan's leftovers in what's his name? Is it McNamara?
McNamara, and I'm pretty sure before you predict this
McNamara.
game, I am pretty sure he's out for this game.
He's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I think he had a bad knee injury or something. I think I saw that on Twitter or something.
I think
But
so.
yeah, he's gonna be out. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting with their quarterback situation, as their offense already sucks. So this might be a closer game, but I'm still gonna stick with Iowa because they got that pretty solid defense. I'm gonna trust that defense to carry this team. Hopefully they can at least put up 3 points or something. This game might finish 3-0 if Iowa wants to win. So I'm gonna stick with Iowa here to win 3-0.
Going
Wait,
into
what about
Kinnick
Super Bowl?
Stadium is a hard place to play. Being a Michigan fan, I know that far too well. Iowa's defense is always tout and ready to play. But with that being said, with Cade McNamara being out, I don't think that Iowa has the offensive weapons to put up almost any points against Purdue, no matter how that defense plays. Even if I could see this ending as almost a 6-3 game, one of those boring defensive battles because Iowa can't produce offense and Iowa's defense is too good and stops Purdue. I think it's going to come down to a defensive touchdown from Iowa, if it's going to. And I'm actually going to retract that statement, and I've changed my mind, and I'm going to say that Purdue sneaks away with a win over in Kinnick Stadium there.
Oh.
I think that.
All right.
Like I said, I don't think that Iowa offense has any star power besides their tight ends to produce any offense. So we'll see what the backup quarterback can do with at least the tight ends, but I don't think that Iowa's got the offensive power to compete with Purdue.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think they're definitely win with their defense, and their defense might actually outscore their offense. And I think it's pretty safe to say that offensive coordinator is gone. With what they said, 25 points a game, I think there's no way.
Something like that, gone. Yeah. Getting shut out last week. And it's just everyone in Iowa thought that having Cade McNamara come in was going to be their saving grace, along with Eric All, both from Michigan. And me being a Michigan fan, I watched Cade McNamara play all 1 year, going to a Big Ten championship. But that team was mostly running behind Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins from Michigan and wasn't too reliant on their quarterback play. So, I just don't think that Iowa's offensive power, I guess, I don't even want to call it power, but offensive strength can prevail against Purdue. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. But Kinnick is a hard place to play. It's where top 10 teams go to die is what they say. So...
Yeah, scary place to play.
Yes.
All right. With that, we're gonna move on to our next game. We got Kansas State Bobcats at Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Now, this is kind of like a random game that they included on there, but we'll take it. So Texas State, their big win comes from Week 1 against Baylor. That big upset, that pretty much almost derailed Baylor's whole season. Then the next week they lost to UTSA, and then they went out and destroyed Jackson State, who played a woman kicker, made history, and it turned out exactly what you thought, 77-34. And then Louisiana, we're still unsure about them. They lost to two pretty solid opponents. I think Old Dominion's a pretty solid team, and then Minnesota. They're a Big Ten team. So, other than that, they won their games pretty handily. This one's it's a tough game because we're still, unsure with these two teams. But there's a lot of hype behind this Texas State team because that win against Baylor. And I think I'm gonna go against the hype. I'm gonna go with Louisiana here to win. And if they're gonna win, I think they're gonna win with the run game. So I feel like they're going to overwhelm this Texas State defense with the run, and it might set up for the pass. But the pass game hasn't been working out too good so far. The quarterback, he threw 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this season so far. And that'd be what my only concern would be. Texas State's passing offense. The quarterback's playing pretty solid. 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. But I'm actually going to trust Louisiana. They usually have a pretty good program there. Still pretty unfamiliar with these two teams, so I'm going to stick with Louisiana.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago when we were talking about Louisiana going to a bowl game. I mean, they cracked the top 25. But since then, I haven't heard about anything on that program at all. And as you mentioned, that Texas State upset over Baylor was a great game to watch as well. I don't know if you know this. Do you know who has the second most transfers behind Coach Prime at Colorado coming in this year?
Is it Louisiana?
It's Texas State. Texas State.
Texas State, really?
Their head coach pulled a Coach Prime and went to the transfer portal and brought in, I think it was 10 fewer transfers than what Coach Prime did at Colorado. So I think that's
still a ton.
Yeah, I think this Texas State team is seasoned a little bit. I think that it's got some veterans on it. So as you said, their quarterback is playing great. So I'm gonna have to stick with Texas State on this one and to beat over Louisiana.
Yeah, all right, good pick. That's good reason to pick. I didn't know that. That's a ton. If I think primetime had like, what was that? I think it was like 80 transfers.
Yeah, 80. It was like 82 or 86.
So if they got like 70 transfers, that's insane.
Yeah, so a completely rebuilt program.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. We got Notre Dame at Louisville. Now, this game, I'm still like, I think it's gonna be like I don't think it's going to be a 50-50, but it'll be close. I think it's going to be a close game. I still got Notre Dame here, but watch out for Louisville. That offense is pretty good. It's a pretty good offensive team. They went up against a roadblock against NC State, but they put up 13 points. But again, NC State's defense is having a down year, so I'm kind of struggling with that. But they average like 500 yards on offense a game. But dude, Notre Dame, they got good defense. I really like Sam Hartman. Jack Plummer has been kind of inconsistent. I like Estime. I'm gonna go Notre Dame. They're battle tested for sure. Louisville was still unsure, but they're 5-0. They seem pretty good in their games, but still a little bit questionable on Louisville's side. So I think I'm gonna go Notre Dame. I'll probably win by like a touchdown. So give me Notre Dame.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I think that Notre Dame is going to be an interesting team to watch this week. Coming off of 2 big games against Ohio State and Duke, this Louisville team doesn't look bad. They look like a good team. So I think you're right in saying watch out for Louisville this week, especially coming off of those two big games where they were battle tested, but also those big games can wear you out. So Louisville will be a very, very interesting test for them this week. But I also got to agree with you here. I think that Sam Hartman is his best move was coming to Notre Dame to play for Marcus Freeman over there. I think that Audric Estime is one of the best running backs in college football right now. And I think that they're going to use him to overpower that run game, to set up the pass with Sam Hartman. And I think that that's the difference in the game. And I think that Notre Dame is going to squeeze past Louisville.
Yeah, so we're on the same page there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely agree with what you said. So, watch out for Plummer. He can be, when he's on, he's pretty dangerous, but also, I would say he's also inconsistent. So, all right. With all that said, we're going to move on to the next game. We got Fresno State at Wyoming. And with this game, this is also a tough read on the Fresno State side. They've been looking pretty good. They're 5-0. Their biggest win is coming from Purdue, and that doesn't say much. Purdue is probably a bottom-tier Big Ten team. And then you got Wyoming. They were able to pull up the upset over Texas Tech. and they lost to Texas, a really good Texas team. So you can't blame them there. Other than that, they've been looking pretty good. They had a close one against Appalachian State. Um, so this one's pretty tough game to pick as the Fresno State quarterback, Keen, whatever his name is, however you say it. He's been playing pretty good. As for the Wyoming side, I think they focus more on their running game. And I'm actually going to pick Wyoming here. I'm going to pick Wyoming up over here with the upset. I'm not too impressed with Fresno State right now. The quarterback, is playing pretty good, but we'll see how they handle. I think this is a pretty good Wyoming team, and plus, Wyoming is at home this weekend, so I'm gonna take Wyoming here. I just got a gut feeling with Wyoming. I'm gonna take the Cowboys.
I like your pick because Wyoming played Texas very close in that first half. I remember sitting on the couch watching a different game and it being 17-10 Texas going into the halftime. The final score didn't show that way, but the first half Wyoming played Texas very, very close. So this Fresno State team, again, I feel like no one saw this coming as a 5-0 start, but this one's a toss-up for me too. With it being in Wyoming, I think I'm going to go against you here. I don't know too much about Fresno State, but I do like Fresno State to remain undefeated here.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the harder ones to pick.
Yeah.
They're two unfamiliar teams. We're not really sure where they are right now. But, yeah. All right. Moving on. This is going to be the last one for the ESPN pick'ems. We got TCU at Iowa State. Now, of course, TCU, last national championship game. This year, they're not the same team. Took a tough L versus Colorado at home, and then took a tough L last week against West Virginia. As for Iowa, they're 2-3. They lost to a tough Oklahoma team. They also lost to Ohio, and then in Iowa. So this Iowa State team has been pretty unimpressive. At least I can trust TCU to put up points. With that, Iowa State's defense is not nothing to brag about. But I'm just gonna trust TCU here. They play close against some pretty solid teams, and at least I can trust the quarter. I don't know if I can say I can trust the quarterback, but he's been playing pretty solid. I'm just gonna trust towards the TCU side. Not much to say here. I like the running back though. Bailey, he's been having a good season so far. So if the pass game fails, they can rely on the running back. I don't see where the bright spots are for Iowa State. So that's why I'm going to lean with TCU here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, for both teams coming off a couple big losses, Iowa State from a couple years ago when they lost Breece Hall and Brock Purdy in the same year, who now have become top-tier NFL players. If you would have brought this game to me,
superstars.
Yeah, if you would have brought this game to me with Iowa State's team from a couple years ago and TCU's from last year, I think this would have been a heck of a game. But TCU losing Quinton Johnston, Max Duggan, and their running back whose name is escaping me right now.
Right now or last year?
I think it was last year. I can't remember his name now.
Frick, he's on the Saints. Forgot his name.
I do too. Yeah, it's escaping me. Obviously, TCU coming off a blowout loss in the title game, and unfortunately beating my Wolverines in the playoff. Coming off also a loss to Coach Prime in the opening day. I think that Sonny Dykes is back almost against the wall right now. As you said, I don't see much bright spot in Iowa State's game right now. Whereas TCU, I mean, Sonny Dykes came in year one with a couple of talented players and made it to the national championship game as a surprise. So I'm with you on this one. I'm going to trust Sonny Dykes and his offensive game plan to come out of that game with a win against the Cyclones of Iowa State.
Yeah. All right. We're on the same page there. Moving on. That's it for the ESPN Pick'ems. Now we're going to move on to some of the other good matchups we have here this week. First the game here, we got Maryland at Ohio State. Now, I know I'm a big fan of Ohio State, He's a big Buckeyes kind of guy. But with that, watch out for Maryland here. I won't be surprised if they pull up the upset on this Ohio State team. I'm not too high on this Ohio State team, and I like their offensive play, but the only thing that's holding me back is the strength of schedule from Maryland's side. Yeah, they've been looking good, but against who? You look, they're looking good against Charlotte, Virginia, Michigan State, who just fired their quarterback, or not the quarterback, fired their coach. What am I saying? Just fired their coach, Mel Tucker, and then they lost to Indiana as well. Those are pretty unimpressive teams, unimpressive wins. I mean, they've been winning big, but like, come on now. Then you got this Ohio State team. Their best wins coming from Notre Dame for sure, but what sticks out about this Ohio State team is their defense is massively improved from last year. They only held Notre Dame to 14 points, and that's what it seems. They only have been allowing 250 total yards allowed from the opposing team, only 150 passing yards allowed, which is pretty crazy. So I can't pick Maryland over Ohio State here. So I'm definitely going to go with Ohio State, especially at home. But I definitely think Maryland can play them close. It's all depending if they can get that offense going against this tough Ohio State defense. But with all that said, I'm going to stick with Ohio State here at home.
I'm going to ask you again, is this one playing in Maryland or is it playing in the shoe?
It's going to be in Ohio.
It's going to be in the shoe? All right.
Yeah.
This is a hard one for me, actually, to talk up Ohio State. Goodness gracious. This Ohio State team to me looks very interesting. And coming from a Michigan perspective, of course, that's what I'm going to say. But I am scared of this Maryland team this year. I think Taulia Tagovailoa is one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. I feel like after last year especially, they've improved upon last year when they were already a pretty scary team last year. This Ohio State, as you said, the Ohio State defense looks really good, holding Estime and Hartman to only bare minimum of yards. But I don't know, with it being played in the shoe, I love Maryland. Michigan has to play Maryland later in the season, and unfortunately it's right before Ohio State, so that's a scary game that I'm looking at for my future. But yeah, I don't know. Kyle McCord, his last drive against Notre Dame really actually impressed me, going into a hostile environment up there in South Bend. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson. I think there's too much firepower on that Ohio State team. But I will say and agree with you here. Watch out for this Maryland team because they might lose this weekend, but they are going to be a scary team going down the stretch when they play Penn State and Michigan as well.
Yeah, for sure. So we both agree it's going to probably be a close game. Ohio State still hasn't been all that impressive. The defense has definitely been more impressive than it has last year. So
if this was in Maryland, they may have taken the Terrapins.
We got another tough matchup here. Yeah, I feel the same way. I agree with you. Maryland has been impressive. It's just tough to take them against Ohio State at home.
It is.
All right. But I said we're going to move on. We got Syracuse at North Carolina. This one is also a pretty tough one. Syracuse has been having a good season so far. But again, I go back to the strength of schedule. They haven't. The best win probably comes from Army. They also beat a Purdue team by 15 points. They lost to Clemson by 17, but that was probably a motivated Clemson team after losing to Florida State. But they're definitely still a good team. I feel like they're a little underrated here. North Carolina, their strength definitely comes from their offense. They have a high-powered offense. The defense has sometimes, got is still to be desired. Now, I wouldn't be surprised with a Syracuse upset here. As the defense, I am concerned about North Carolina. The games where they have kept the score low for the opposing team has come to Minnesota, whose offense is almost non-existent, and then South Carolina, whose offensive line can be compared to the traffic cones. You know, you just go right around them. So, with all that said, I might actually pick Syracuse here for the upset. So watch out. I think I'm gonna go with Syracuse here. I think that Syracuse can upset North Carolina here. So give me the oranges here.
Big Orange, Syracuse basketball school coming in to play football, I guess. We got a basketball school matchup here with North Carolina and Syracuse, but both teams look great in the college football landscape this year. But I'm so high on Drake May.
Yeah.
I love watching him play quarterback. I love watching him throw the ball. I don't think he has too many offensive targets to throw to as one of his who was supposed to be his top wide receiver coming into this year. The NCAA denied eligibility this year for some odd reason. But I don't know if I can pick against Drake May. I mean, they played Appalachian State close, but he found a way to win it in the end, so I'm definitely going to have to go UNC here. I can't bring it to myself to pick against Drake May.
Yeah, definitely agree. There's something with the basketball schools this year. They've been looking impressive this year.
Yeah.
So, especially in football.
Yeah.
So, something's in the air in these basketball schools.
Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, North Carolina. The only one that hasn't that comes to mind is Michigan State. So.
Yeah. And then, so that's a good thing for you. They're not looking in football. Who knows about basketball, though?
Yeah.
So let's see here. Next game, we got UCF at Kansas, and a tough loss for UCF last week. They were out by, I think it was like they were out by 21 in the fourth quarter.
I think so.
And yeah, I think they allowed a fumble for a touchdown, and that's where it just went all wrong. And which is crazy. It looks like UCF was just trying to run out the clock instead of trying to score points at the end, and that just really costed them. But they're without Rice Plumlee, and they're going to be with the quarterback McClain here, who has been looking impressive in the air, and I would argue he's probably a better passer than Plumlee is. So not too much of a downgrade there. And to UCF's credit, Baylor's starting quarterback from the beginning of the season did return, and he did play well, but still, you got to win those games. And UCF is not a bad team. They only lost to Baylor and Kansas State. Baylor, we'll see with this new quarterback how they play the rest of the season. But Kansas State is definitely a good team. And now if you look at this Kansas team is actually pretty good. They definitely took a tough loss to Texas last week. But it was kind of like a surprise scratch for Jaden Daniels. I was surprised Jaden Daniels, he did not play. I believe he hurt his back during warm-ups or re-aggravated something in his back. So he was out that game. That was unfortunate for Kansas. So other than that, they beat a pretty tough BYU team. And they're solid this year for sure. They're legit. We just don't know about the health of Jalen Daniels. We don't know if he's going to play or not. But, so I don't know. If he plays, I think it's pretty safe to say Kansas. But if he doesn't play, I'm leaning towards UCF. But you know what? Since Kansas is at home, I'm going to trust Daniels to play. But you never know with him. So I'm gonna stick with Kansas. I'm going to pick Kansas here. I'm going to stick with the basketball schools. Like we said earlier, there's something in the air with the basketball schools. So I'm going to stick with the basketball school here.
Yeah, I like it. The UCF quarterback is a fascinating position for me with Plumlee going down because that means that they call on I believe he's a true junior, or maybe a redshirt sophomore if they did redshirt him. He actually came from the rivalry of the I-4 rivalry, whatever it's called down there. He came out of UCF. He was a highly touted recruit. Committed to USF and then transferred over to a big rival in UCF. So that's always a fascinating story for me to listen to. But yeah, I like Jalen Daniels a lot on that Kansas team. As you said, I'm hoping that he's able to go this week. UCF seems to always put together a solid program, year in, year out. So I think this is gonna be a great game. But like you said, like Kansas at home is going to be a hard team to beat, even though Timmy McClain is a great passer, as you said. He can also run the ball. I don't know if you saw the the fourth down conversion that he had
The
last
fourth down
week.
play?
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
he's got legs like crazy. So I think that he's a great dual threat quarterback. He can throw the ball, he can run if he needs to. But I think that Jalen Daniels and this Kansas offense prevail at home against the UCF Knights.
All right, there we go. Now moving on. This is gonna be our last game for today, for this week. We got Kentucky at Georgia. Now Kentucky, they're pretty good. They're looking pretty great actually this season. That running back, Ray Davis, man, he tore up that Florida D-line, man. Went off for 280 yards that game. Devin Leary, he's coming from NC State. He's having a good season so far. Not much competition for Kentucky, but Florida's a good win for them. And if you look at this Georgia team, their best competition comes probably from, say, South Carolina. They also played Auburn, but there's two underwhelming teams right now. But they got Brock Bowers, Carson Beck. They normally refuel. They're gonna be a good team, of course. That defense, Kirby Smart's gonna have them straight for this year. But yeah, so Georgia's a good team here. But forget that, man. I got Kentucky here with an upset, man. Forget that. Georgia's been playing some sloppy football this year so far. Always struggling in the first half and having to rely on coming back in the second half. Forget that. I don't think they can have a sloppy first half against this Kentucky team. Ray Davis, you got to watch out for him. He's a great running back. Devin Leary, he's a great quarterback as well. Or not great, but he's serviceable. He can get the job done. Of course, this Georgia defense is going to be tough, but they allowed Auburn to score 20 points, and that Auburn offense is nothing to be to rave about. So I can trust this Kentucky team to score at least more than 20, I would say. So I'm going to pick Kentucky here with the upset. So yeah, another one. Give me the basketball schools, man.
Yeah, I like the enthusiasm there. It makes me want to pick Kentucky along with you there. With Devin Leary,
Sure.
We saw what he did at NC State last year. He's a very solid quarterback. And as you said, your poor Gators let up too many yards to that running back last week as well. Sorry to bring up that open wound, but they looked really solid last week. It looked very, very solid last week to a Florida team. If you like college football, Matt, to a Florida team that beat Tennessee, who I think is a somewhat solid team as well. So Georgia, I'm not high on Carson Beck yet. As you said, they've gone down early in the first half and have had to have two solid second halves to come back and win, both against South Carolina and last week against Auburn. And as you said, that Auburn offense with Peyton Thorne, the ex-MSU Spartan, at the helm is not anything to be raving about. So I don't know. For me, this one's a toss-up. You went with the Wildcats. I don't know. I like the SEC defense and the Georgia defense, so I think that Georgia just slides by. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be closer than what people think, but as we saw last week, Brock Bowers can just take over games, even if it's whoever's throwing him the ball, even if it is Beck or if it's Bennett last year. I mean, that man is just an absolute animal going into games. So I think he's a big second half. I think we see similar to the past couple of weeks for Georgia, where they struggle early, but then finish strong in the end of the game. So as much as I want to see Georgia lose so that my Wolverines can jump up to the number one spot, I think that they take care of business this weekend in a very close fashion.
Yeah, for sure. Brock Bowers, he's something special, man.
He is.
So, yeah. So, all right, guys. That's it for Week 6 of college football. It's kind of crazy we're at Week 6 already. So
needs to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to slow down, man. Come on. Why is it going so fast? It just got here, right?
Yeah.
But with all that said, thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, next week, Rhett, he's still fired, so he won't be here next week. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to watch all the rest of the content this week. Appreciate you guys.